Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural session of the Python Bootcamp organized by GeeksForGeeks student chapter at VIT-AP. It is fantastic to see all the eager people here today, ready to dive into the exciting world of Python programming. I'm Dipto, and I have the pleasure of being your host for today's event. We have an insightful session planned for you, and to kick things off, I would like to introduce our distinguished speaker for today. Let me introduce our esteemed speaker today. It's Kashish Goel. She's not just a participant but also a driving force behind the scenes. Kashish, say hi.
Hi, hello to everyone. Nice to meet you all. I am really very
Okay,
eager to come up with us. Yeah.
okay, a little bit more about Kashish. She is currently pursuing her BTech CSC at VIT-AP. She is in her second year here, and she has a keen interest in data science, web development, is always looking to learn for more. She has been an active member of Geeks for Geeks VIT-AP, organizing workshops and events to promote coding literacy among peers, and this is her first bootcamp. And we have absolutely no doubt that she's going to slay all of this. With no other delay, let's start the Python Bootcamp Day 1 session. All on you, Kashish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
just a
second.
second.
We apologize for the delay, but I'll begin shortly.
Sorry, my laptop got hung. Just a second. So, yeah. Hello everyone, I am Kashish and I am currently the Tech Geeks lead in GFG VIT chapter and I am your guide through this Python bootcamp journey. And I'm here to help you master Python and unleash your programming potential. So let me just tell you a simple thing. I'll be giving you some brief and some introduction regarding Python first of all. So Python is basically used for developing websites and software, task automation, data analysis, and data visualization. But actually, it's a very easy to learn. Like Python has been adopted by many non-programmers, such as accountants, scientists, for a variety of everyday tasks, like organizing finances. But for us, like we are having computer science as our major degree, so it's like it will be good if you learn about Python and use it accordingly. So yeah, in this course, you will learn the universal concepts of computer programming, syntax, semantics of the Python language, practical skills, and trying with implementation, then how to use the most important elements of Python standard library. Yeah. I'll try to make it more interesting. I'll provide you questions after each and every session. I'll provide the sum each and after every session. Also, you'll learn how to design, develop, test, and debug simple Python programs. So yeah. So yeah, agenda of our this session, whole boot camp is like introduction of basic Python. Then I'll be telling you more about Python data types, variables, operators, Boolean values and stuff. And like we'll be continuing this whole basic Python series till tomorrow. And after that, I'll be introducing you to NumPy. On the very third day of the boot camp, we'll be having one assessment or test kind of thing to test your knowledge based on the last 2 days. And on the very fourth day, we'll be learning MATLAB. So yeah, also, I'll be providing questions and summary after each and every session. And if you follow up, like I mentioned over the group, you'll be having the good grip over Python. So, yes. Let me again say Python is actually widely used, interpreted, object oriented, and high level programming language with dynamic semantics, like used for general purpose programming. And I think you may know the Python as large snake, like right? Like name of the Python programming language comes from an old BBC television comedy sketch series called Monty Python Flying Circus, if you all know about that. So, so let's not be late and start with the main session. Yeah. Also, you should learn Python and you can learn Python as it is an easy and intuitive language. It is open source, it is understandable and suitable for everyday tasks. Also, I just want to be clear with you all that I'll be I'll be using normal output screenshots and input screenshots for the basics of Python, but for the NumPy and for the MATLAB, I'll be using Jupyter Notebook because it's more practical and it's of more use in your upcoming project and stuff. But the basics of Python is kind of very easy. Before moving further, I would like to ask each and every one of you to which year you belong. Like I'll just add a poll. Just a second. Yeah, you can vote in the chat box. Also, if you have any questions while I'm teaching, kindly put that in the chat box and I'll try to tell it as soon as possible. I'll try to resolve it. Also, I won't be. Okay, thanks, Venkat. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm expecting more students from first year. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I was wrong. Okay, so we have enough roles. I guess it's fine. Second year students are okay. Okay, let's start with Python. So yes, it's time to start with some real working Python code. It'll be very simple for the time being. As we are going to show you some fundamental concepts and terms, these snippets of codes won't be all serious or complex. Like I'm showing you the code and its output, its screenshot accordingly. Then I'll be explaining you each and every syntax, why print is used here, why the semicolon is used here. Like what will you expect if you write this, if that not. And if you don't have any question, kindly put that into the chat box. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so very first code you can write it accordingly in your IDE as well. Yeah. So the very first code, print and hello world. So actually now we'll spend some time showing and explaining to you what you are actually seeing and what it looks like. As you can see, the first program consists of the word print, an opening parenthesis, a quotation mark, a line of text hello world. Just a second. Yeah. Another quotation mark and a closing parenthesis. You know, each and every word and each and every symbol here plays a very important role in the code. The word print that you can see here is a function name. That doesn't mean that wherever the word appears, it is always a function name. The meaning of the word comes from the context in which the word has been used. You have probably encountered the term function many times before during maths classes, of course. You can probably also list several names of mathematical functions like sine or log, right? The function is a separate part of the computer code able to able to cause some effect, evaluate a value. Moreover, many Python functions can do two things together. Some of the functions do the single thing, like I just told you that some of the functions cause effect and some of the functions evaluate the value. Some of the Python functions can do both of them. Okay. Also, the name of the function should be significant. The name of the print function is self-evident. Of course, if you are going to make use of an already existing function, you have no influence on its name. But when you start writing your own function, you should consider carefully your choices of name. Okay. Yeah. Also, there are some terms called functional arguments and just a second. Yeah, functional arguments and function invocation. So, what is function argument? As I said before, a function may have an effect or a result. There's also a third, very important function component, the arguments. The mathematical functions usually take one argument. For example, sin x, take an x, right? Which is the measure of an angle. Python function, on the other hand, are more versatile, meaning depending on the individual needs, they may accept any term of arguments, as many as necessary to perform their tasks. Also, when we set any number that includes zero, some Python functions don't need any argument. Okay. Also, I would suggest each and every one of you to write the extra definitions, the extra points I'm referring, because I'll be sharing this PPT obviously, but this doesn't include each and every information I'm sharing. Okay. Okay, I'll be explaining string as the print function's argument. One second. Yeah. The only argument delivered to the print function in this example is a string. And as you can guess, obviously it's visible that the string here is hello world. As you can see, the string is delimited with quotes. In fact, the quotes make the string. They cut out a part of the code and assign a different meaning to it. Like if you have to assign a string into a print statement, then you have to use quotes to make it. Okay. Now I'll be telling you about the function invocation. I hope you are clear about function arguments. I'll be telling you about the function invocation. The function name print here, along with the parentheses and arguments, form the function invocation. We'll discuss this in more depth soon, but let's start ahead a little light on it right now. Okay, so how do you invocate a function? You first write the function name and the parenthesis, then you use the argument in it. What is the function name here? Here the function name is print and the argument here used is string, that is hello world. So what happens actually when Python encounters an invocation like this one? Let's see. First, Python checks if the name specified is legal. It browses its internal data in order to find an existing function of the name. If this search fails, Python aborts the code. Second, if Python checks the function requirements for the number of arguments, allow you to invoke the function in this way. Example, if a specific function demands exactly two arguments, any invocation delivering only one argument will be considered erroneous and will abort the code's execution. Third, Python leaves your code for a moment and jumps into the function you want to invoke. Of course, it takes your arguments too and passes it to the function. Fourth, the function executes its code, causes the desired effect, evaluates the desired result, and finishes the task. Finally, Python returns to your code and resumes its execution. So I hope you are now clear with how all of this is happening while you are passing some line or you're passing some function within an argument, right? Okay. Okay, now you must be wondering, okay, we use print and then parentheses and then inverted commas and then you write your string. But what actually does this print function was? The effect is very useful and very spectacular, just believe me. The function takes its argument. It may accept more than one argument and may also accept less than one argument. Like here we passed only one argument, right? But you can pass more than one argument. Here we use string. In the further topics, I'll be introducing you to integers. I'll be introducing you to the Boolean values. You can put them that also. Actually, it also converts to human readable form if needed and sends the resulting data to the output device. Like, in other words, if you want me to explain, anything you put into the print function will appear on your screen. Okay. And okay, now we know that print function is very useful, but obviously in return it expects something. We'll show you soon that print is able to operate with virtually all types of data offered by Python. Strings, numbers, characters, logical values, objects. Any of these may be successful passed to print. Okay, so this was all regarding print. How does it work? What is its meaning? Each and everything. So next, I'll be introducing you to Python escape and new line characters. Just a second. As you are able to see on the screen, I have written print, hi, I am /n Kashish, print again, and print with Geeks for Geeks student chapter @ VIT-AP. Aren't you confused what that black /n is? There are two very subtle changes. Like I have inserted a strange pair of character inside it, and it looks like /n. Interestingly, while you can see two characters, Python sees one. Like you are able to see slash and n, but Python sees it as one. The backslash has a very special meaning when used inside strings. This is called the escape character. I'll repeat, it is called escape character. The word escape should be understood specifically. It means that the series of the characters in the string escapes for the moment, a very short moment, and introduces itself a special inclusion. In other words, the backslash doesn't mean anything in itself, but it only but is only a kind of announcement that the next character after the backslash has a different meaning. The letter N placed after the backslash comes from word new line. Backslash, what was it doing? I hope you are clear. But the letter N placed after the backslash comes from the word new line. Both the backslash and the N forms a special symbol named a new line character, which urges the console to start a new output line. Okay. So yeah, when you run this code, you'll get this type of thing. Hi, I am. Next line, Kashish. One space of line again, and Geeks for Geeks student chapter VIT-AP. So basically, it means that the backslash n shifts your code to the next line. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Also, if you remember, I just told you that you can pass more arguments into one function. So far, we have tested the print function with behavior with no arguments, with one argument. It's also worth trying to feed the print function with more than one argument. Look at the window. This is what we are going to test now. So we have print inverted commas GFG comma Python comma Bootcamp, right? So if you run it, you'll see that yeah, you'll see that it does not shift to the, because you haven't used print statement again and again, nor you have used backslash n here. The arguments are separated by commas. We have surrounded them with spaces to make them more visible, but it's not really necessary, and we won't be doing it anymore. I just wanted to want to clear your concept. In this case, the commas separating the arguments play a completely different role than the commas inside the string. Like if you are writing print inverted commas, hello comma word inverted comma, and then again the closing parenthesis, it doesn't make any sense. It will just print hello comma whatever the statement was. Again, if you're printing print inverted comma hello inverted commas closed comma inverted commas Python, then it will show hello no comma in between, then Python. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I'll give you the two conclusions emerging from the example, that a print function invoked with more than one argument outputs them all in one line, and the print function puts a space between the outputted arguments on its own initiative. I hope I'm clear. Okay, so let's move on to some more arguments. Let's learn about positional arguments. Now that you know a bit about print function, we are going to show you how to change them. You should be able to predict the output without running the code in the editor. Okay. So here you are able to see that I have written print my name is Kashish in one string comma. Oh, sorry, my name is in one string comma, and in another string I have written Kashish, and in the next one print Python is interesting. Okay. So yeah, in the way in which I am passing the arguments into the print function is the most common in Python, and is also called the positional way. This name comes from the fact that the meaning of the argument is dictated by its position. Example, the second argument will be outputted after the first, not the other way around. Okay. So when you run the code, you'll be getting my name is Kashish full stop, Python is interesting. In the next line, of course, because I'm using another print function after the former print function. About the keyword arguments, Python offers another mechanism for the passing of arguments, which can be helpful when you want to convince the print function to change its behavior a bit. We aren't going to explain it in depth right now. I plan to do this when we talk about functions. Okay, for now, I simply want you to show how it works. Feel free to use in your own programs, obviously. The mechanism is called keyword arguments. The name stems from the fact that the meaning of this argument is taken not from its location but from the special word which is called keyword used to identify them. The print function has two keyword arguments that you can use for your purpose. The first is called end. As you are able to see, I have mentioned here print my name is Kashish, comma, end is equal to inverted commas in the space in between. Okay. And in the another print statement, I have written Python is interesting. Yeah. In order to use it, it is necessary to know some rules. So I'll be telling you two rules. You have to keep them in mind. First rule is that the keyword argument consisting of three elements, keyword identifying the argument. What is the keyword argument here? End. End is the keyword argument here. The equal to sign and the value assigned to that argument. Right now, I haven't assigned any value to the argument. It's just a space. Any keyword argument have to be put after the last positional argument. Like this is very important. I would like to repeat that the keyword argument have to be put after the string, like after the last positional argument. Like in the example, we have made use of and keyword argument and set it to string containing one space. When we run the code, you must see my name is Kashish full stop. Python is interesting. Are you able to see there is one difference? When I use before print one print statement after another, it printed the statement into the new line. But here, when I used end is equal to and that inverted commas with the space in between them, then it simply printed it in the same line. Okay, the default behavior reflects the situation where the end keyword is implicitly used in the following way. End is equal to inverted comma backslash n. Isn't it an interesting fact that you don't have to use backslash n, but you can obviously use end is equal to inverted commas backslash n. And now it's trying to try something difficult. Okay. The string assigned to the end keyword argument can be of any length. Experiment it if you want. You can pass each like any length. Okay. Okay. The next keyword argument we are having is sep is equal to inverted commas and any argument you want to pass it on. Okay. The keyword argument that can do this is it's separated. We said previously that the print function separates its outputted argument with spaces. This behavior can be changed too. Like you are able to see here, I have written print my, comma name, comma is, comma abracadabra, comma separate is equal to, then that inverted commas in between hyphen. The print function now uses a dash instead of a space to separate the outputted arguments. As you are able to see the output is my, then slash, then name, then slash, no, sorry, hyphen, then is, then hyphen, then abra, hyphen, cadabra, right? So, yeah, the print, the separated arguments value may be an empty string too. Try it yourself. If you want to pass it like separate is equal to inverted commas, then it will just separate the my name is the arguments you are string arguments you are passing in within a with a space. Okay. Okay. What if I let's make it more difficult? I'm using separate and end within the same code. Then what will happen? Yeah. Actually, this example doesn't make much sense, but it visibly presents the interaction between end and separate. Can you predict the output? Like it's on the screen. When you see the output, it's like my underscore name underscore is star abra star cadabra full stop star. As you're able to see, in the very first print statement, my name is being used with separate and underscore, and it ends with just a second. Yeah. It ends with like the end argument here shows the star, and when you are printing abracadabra here the separate argument is using star and the end argument is using backslash n. So it I mean, I guess you are able to predict why is it so. Okay. Okay. Now let me introduce you to literals. Now that you have a little bit knowledge of some of the powerful features offered by print function, it's time to learn about some new issues, more issues about Python. And one important new term here is literal. The literal is data whose values are determined by literal itself. I mean, it is difficult to understand, right? A very good example maybe might be helpful for you. Let's consider set of digits 1, 2, 3. Can you guess what value it represents? Of course you can. It's 123, right? But what about if I pass C? Just C. Does it represent any value? Maybe. It can be the symbol of the speed of the line, for example. It can also be constant of integration or even the length of the hypotenuse. Like there are many fucking possibilities, right? You cannot choose the right one without some additional knowledge. You use literals to encode data and to put them into your code. So now I'm going to show you how some conventions you have to obey while using Python. Yeah. First of all, you have this printing statement in front of you. This first print statement contains inverted commas and 2 as an argument, but in the second print statement it just contains 2. Like the first line looks very familiar, right? The second seems to be erroneous due to visible lack of quotes. If I run it, it shows 2 and 2. But actually, it seems to be same, but it's different. What happened? What does it mean? Through this example, you will encounter different type of literals. One of them is string and another one is integer. String you already know, but integer is a number, something completely new. Let me tell you, the print function, presents them in exactly the same way. This example is obvious as the human readable representation is also the same, right? Internally, in the computer's memory, these two values are stored in completely different way as I told you. The string exists as just a string, a series of letters. The number is converted in machine representation, a set of bits. The print function is able to show them both in the form of readable to humans. Okay. Now I'm going to be spending some time discussing numeric literals and their internal life. Let me introduce you to integers. You may already know a little about how computers perform calculations on numbers, right? Perhaps you have heard of the binary system. What is a binary system? 0 1 0 1 1 0. And know that it's the system computers use for storing numbers and that those computers can perform any operation upon them. We won't explore the intricacies. Just a second. Sure, we will say that the numbers handled by the modern computers are of two types. They are of two types, the integers and the floating point numbers. Integers, that is those which are devoid of the fractional part, and the floating point numbers that contain the fractional part. This definition, I mean, it must be confusing for you, but actually it's quite sufficient for now. I mean, it's important, but the boundary between these two type of numbers is very strict. Both of these kind of numbers differ significantly in how like they're stored in computer memory and the range of the acceptable value. Yeah. Okay, so you just a second. Yeah, you must be very familiar that there are many type of numbers, octal numbers, hexadecimal numbers. There are two additional conventions in Python that are unknown to the world of mathematics. The first allows us to use numbers in an octal representation. If an integer number is preceded by an 00 or prefix 0o, it will be treated as an octal value. This means that the number must contain digit from 0 to 7. You must be very familiar that the octal number are within the range 0 to 7 and hexadecimal 0 to 6 or something. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me tell you about floats now. Integers, like it's enough for now for integers. Now it's time to talk about another type, which is designed to represent, just a second. Yeah. Which is designed to represent and to store the numbers that have a non-empty decimal fraction. They are the numbers that have a fractional part after the decimal point. And although such a definition is very poor, it's certainly sufficient for what we wish to discuss. Okay. Whenever we use a term like 2.5 or minus 0, 2.5 or minus 0.4 or something, we think of the numbers which compute considers floating point numbers. Okay. Now, actually, the definition of integer and floats, it's not that important. Like it's very direct that the integer is 4 and float is 4.0 or something something. But what is the actual difference between them? The decimal point is essential for recognizing the float point numbers in Python. Like if you see 4 and if you see 4.0, both of them are actually same. You may think they're exactly same, but Python sees them in a completely different way. 4 is an integer number and 4.2 is a floating point number. Okay. So now you have to note the 2 points here. The exponent, the value after the e, has to be an integer, and the base, the value in front of b, may be either an integer or a float. Okay. Yeah. Let's come back to strings. Hello world, we did hello world in like strings में हमने किया था, right? Strings are actually used when you need to process text, like names, like addresses, novels, etc., but not numbers. You already know a bit about them. Example, that string need quotes, the way float need points, right? This is a very typical string. Just a second. This is a very typical string. Hi, hello world. However, there is a catch. The catch is how to encode a quote inside a string, which is already delimited by quotes. Okay. The first catch is that it is based on the concepts we already know of the escape character, which you should remember is placed by the backslash, right? The backslash can escape quotes too. The code preceded by a backslash changes its meaning. It's not a delimiter, but just a code. This will work as intended. Like if I say print and one parenthesis, I said inverted commas, I like slash Monty Python. Yeah, I like slash Monty Python or I like slash GFG VIT-AP. But if I do that slash, it doesn't work because it is under strings. The second solution may be a bit surprising. Python can use an apostrophe instead of a quote. Either of these characters may delimit strings, but you must be consistent. If you open a string with a quote, you have to close it with a quote. If you start a string with an apostrophe, you have to end it with an apostrophe. Okay. So that's it for strings also. Now let's come to the Boolean values. Trust me, Boolean values are not as useful, but you must have some knowledge about them. And it is concluding Python literals. They are not as obvious as any of the previous ones, but they are used to represent a very abstract value, like truthfulness. If the code is true or the code is false, they just show that. As on the screen, you are able to see. I have printed if true is greater than false. What do you think about it? I mean, yeah, true is greater than false. So it will in the terminal it will show you true. But for the second statement, that print true is less than false. No, bhai, true is always bigger than false. It's always greater than false. Then it will show false value. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the next topic. Our next topic is calculation, Python as a calculator. Yeah. Now we are going to show that completely new side of print function. You already know that the function is able to show you the values of the literals passed to it by arguments. In fact, it can do something more. Look at the code in front of you. What if I do print 2 star star 3, print 2 star star 3 point, print point star star 3. What does it mean? What does it represent? Let's talk about it. So yeah, we have basic operators in front of you, like plus, minus, star, slash, double slash, that percentage sign, and two stars. What does this all mean? We'll begin with the operators which are associated with the most widely recognizable arithmetic operations. Okay. The order of their appearance is not accidental. We'll talk about it like they do have priority. Can you guess Python also has priorities based upon the operators? Okay. Okay. Look at this code. Look at this code. The example shows a very important feature of virtually all Python numerical operators. When you run it, you will be able to see 8, 8.0, 8.0, 8.0. Let me clear. It's possible to formulate the following rules. Some of the rules are also it's like when both the star star operators are integers, the result is integer. Like if you are using integer, star star integer, then the result is integer. But if one of them is float, then the result will be float too. Okay. When you are using multiplication and star sign is a multiplication operator, like you are able to see here. Here I have shown you the multiplication operation, right? So it's simple. 2 star 3, what will it give? 6. 2 star 3 point. I already told you if one of them is float, then it will give the float value like 2 star 3.0. This is the float value 3 point, right? So it gave the output 6.0. Simple. Division is again simple. Integer division. Just a second. Yeah. Division is again simple. 6 divided by 3. You know. Yeah. One most important point to take care here. The double slash sign is an integer division operator. It is completely different from the standard division operator. Actually, the result lacks the fractional part. It is absent or it always equal to 0. It means that the result are always rounded. It conforms to the integer versus float values. Okay. For example, like you have seen here, 6 slash 3, it's 2.0. Both of them here are integer, but it still gives the output in float. But if you see here, when you are using double slash, then 6 double slash 3 gives you the integer value only. I think you are able to figure out. Again, yeah, just a second. Okay, now let's talk about the remainder, which is also called the modulo. Actually, it has no equivalent among traditional arithmetic operators. Its graphically representation in Python is the percent sign, which may look a bit confusing. Try to think of it as a slash accompanied by two funny little characters. Okay, the result of the operator is a remainder left after the integer division. Like, for example, if you divide 5 by 2, what will be the remainder here? The remainder here will be 1 and the question here will be 2. So the answer remainder is the answer modulo is giving is the remainder, and the answer the backslash means a division, normal division operator is giving is the question. Okay. Like 14 modulo 4, it gives 2. Because 4, yeah, it gives 2, it gives remainder. 4 3 is 12, 14 minus 12 is 2. So 2 is the remainder. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic, variables. Now this is somewhat theory, but it's very important. It seems fairly obvious that the Python should allow you to encode literals carrying numbers and text values, right? You already know that you can do some arithmetic operations with these numbers. You can do addition, you can do subtraction, etc., etc. You'll be doing that many times, right? But it's quite a normal question to ask how to store the results of this operation in order to use them in other operations and so on. How do you save the intermediate results and how them again to produce subsequent ones? For example, if you do print 2 star 3, it's 6. But what if I want to store it? What if I want to calculate the intermediate value? Python actually will help you do that. It offers special boxes or containers for that purpose. And these boxes are called variables. The name itself suggests that the content of these containers can be varied in almost any way. What does Python variable actually have? It has a name and a value. Let's start with the issue related to a variable name. Just a second. Yeah. So, first, let me tell you about the variable names. If you want to give a name to a variable now, you must follow some strict rules. Like it is on the window. These are the strict rules you have to take care of. Like the name of the variable must be composed of uppercase or lowercase letters, digits, and the characters. Characters like underscores or star or something. And the name of the variable must begin with a letter. The underscore character is a letter. Upper and lowercase letters are treated as different. Okay, like if you are writing kashish with small k and you are writing kashish with the capital K, both of them are different variables in Python. The name of the variable must not be any of the Python's reserved words. Okay, I'll explain you the keywords. Keywords that are already reserved. Kindly take a look. I have mentioned here false, none, true, etc. etc. These are the reserved keywords. You are not supposed to introduce them as new variables. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to the interesting part. How will you create a variable? You can use a variable to store any value. You already know that. Let's now talk about two important things: how variables are created and how to put values inside them. Okay. A variable comes into existence as a result of assigning a value to it. Unlike in other language, you don't need to declare it in any special way. If you assign any value to a non-existent variable, then the variable will automatically be created. You don't need to do anything. The creation, in other words, it's extremely simple. Just use the name of the desired variable and then use the equal sign and put any value you want. Take a look at the code I have written here. Var, like variable, I have written the short form. Var is equal to 1. And when I'm printing var, it shows 1. Okay. Yeah, it consists of two simple instructions. The first of them creates a variable named var and assigns a literal with an integer value. Okay. The second one, yeah, the second prints the value of newly created variable to the console. As you can see, print has yet another side to it. It can handle variables too, like you already saw. It can handle strings, it can handle integers. Now it can handle variables too. Do you know that what will be the output of the snippet? Like, okay, I'll tell you one more thing. If you are assigning one value to a variable, let's say you assign 1 to var and you're printing it again, but you are, let's focus on the third line of the code. Var is equal to var plus 1. It means the previous value of var is being added by 1 and then again assigned to var. It means the new value of var is 1 plus 1, that is 2. Then if it is printing var again, it will be replenished and it will be 2. Okay. Yeah. The first line of the snippet here creates a new variable named var. I'll again repeat and assigns 1 to it. The statement reads assign a value to 1 to the variable named var. We can say it shorter, assign 1 to var. Some prefer to read such a statement as var becomes 1. Okay. Now, the third line assigns the same variable with the new value taken from the variable itself, summed with 1. Seeing a record like that, a mathematician would probably protest. भाई इतनी बार ऐसा 1 plus कैसे हो रहा है? But actually this is a contradiction. But Python treats the sign is equal to not as equal to, but as assigning value. You got my point. What I'm trying to explain through this example is equal to here in case of Python is not actually representing equal to, but it shows that it is assigning some value. Take the current value of the variable var and add 1 to it and store the result in the variable var. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What if I tell you, like it's a very simple thing. What if I tell you to calculate the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle which has base as 2 and perpendicular value as 4. Will you be able to calculate the hypotenuse value? Yeah, on the paper notebook it's very easy, but if I ask you to write the code, how will you write the code in Python? I would like each and every one of you to take a look into it and reply on the WhatsApp group after the session ends. Okay, let's move on to the next operator, comments. Comments is actually very basic thing that you want to add a comment. Why would you add a comment? Comments are basically uh, you may want to put in a few words addressed not to Python but to humans. Like the if you add a comment to your code, Python doesn't address it, but humans usually do. They usually explains to other readers of the code how the tricks used in the code works. For example, you are doing a project and you just want to tell your partner or you want to tell your fellow mate that actually I use the formula here because of this. If you can't say it verbally, you can actually put it into your Python code with one hash symbol here. This will not be considered by Python but your fellow mate. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, the input function. So now we learned about the basic Python, Python, how does it works and how it understands, how is it using basically operators and something. Now let's interact with the user. Okay. Here now you will learn how to talk to a computer. You will familiarize yourself with the input function, perform type conversion and learn how to use string operators. Okay. Now I am going to introduce you a completely new function which seems to be a mirror reflection of a good old print function. Okay. Well, print function sends data to the console. One second. The function is named input and parenthesis. The name of the function says everything. The input function is able to read data entered by the user and to return the same data to the running program. The program can manipulate the data, making the code truly interactive. Virtually all programs read and process data. A program which doesn't get a user's input is a deaf program. Like while I was doing print 2 star 3, I was basically doing a simple multiplication to get the output 6. That is called a deaf program. Now look at the example shown here. I have printed a simple statement. How are you feeling while attending the boot camp? If let's ignore the second and third statement here. If here only one statement would be there, this print statement, then this is called a def program. But now look at the second line of the code. Anything is equal to input and the parenthesis. And the third one, printing that anything. Okay. When you run it, you will be getting how are you feeling while attending the boot camp. Let's say then the terminal will be asking you to put into the input. Now let's say I input grade, that orange one is I type. Then it again prints anything is the input value I printed, that is grade, comma comma comma, oh sorry, full stop full stop full stop, really. So it shows a very simple case of using the input function. The program prompts the user to input some data from the console, although it is also possible to input data using voice or image, obviously. The input function is invoked without arguments. The function will switch the console to input mode. You understand, right? Like the console was basically first of all used for the output, but now it converts it into the input mode. You will see a blinking cursor there and you'll be able to input some keystrokes, finishing off by hitting the enter key, and then you'll be getting like you'll be moving on to the further code. Okay. You need to assign the results to a variable. This is very crucial. You can't just write print input parenthesis really. No, you have to assign it to some variable. This is very important. Okay. Then we use the print function to output the data we get. Okay. Now let's. Okay. I'll introduce you. I'll tell you that the input function can also be used with an argument. Argument as in like, okay, as I told you before, what is an argument? Here, argument is anything separated by one comma, and there are two arguments. One is anything that is variable, and one is really that is a string. So you can use input with the arguments also. Let's move on to typecasting or type conversion. This is actually interesting. Python offers two simple functions to specify a type of data and solve this problem. Here they are: integer parenthesis and float. Their names are self-commenting. The integer function takes one argument, okay, and yeah, it takes one argument, and for example let a string and tries to convert it into an integer. If it fails, the whole program will fail too. Okay, the float function takes one argument, example a string. Like for example, I did integer and I made 1 2 into the parenthesis, then it is right. But what if I write integer opening parenthesis, uh, hello world, and then closing the parenthesis? This is not optimum, right? The program will fail. Same operates in the case of float. Okay, this is very simple and very effective. Moreover, you can invoke any of the functions by passing the input results directly to them. There is no need to use any variable as an intermediate story. Okay, we have implemented the idea in the editor. Look at the code just a second. Yeah, you are able to see anything is equal to float, input, enter a number. Now you have some knowledge. I think you are able to get that it will print, enter a number, then it will be taking input in. Also, I'll suggest you, when you are writing a code and you are able and you are trying to understand it, just move from the inner brackets to the outer brackets. Here the inner bracket is enter a number, move to the outer bracket. Okay, enter a number. What will it do further? It will take input. What type of input it will take? It will take a float value. Okay, it will take a float value or anything. Yeah, it will take a float value. For example, then I assign कि भाई anything will be exponentially done, exponential with 2.0, and it will be again assigned to some variable known as something. Then I am printing anything. The first variable to the power of 2 is this. For example, when I run it, it will first ask me, let me make it easy for you. When it first asks me, enter a number, I say 4. Yes, okay. It will ask what number you want. If I enter 4, then it shows कि भाई 4.0 to the power of 2 is 16.2. I already told you, if one of the value is float, then it will be returning into the float value. So here it is float, right? I entered 4, it will be converting it to float. So integer is converted into float, and when float is again exponential done to uh, 1 second. When it is again exponentially done to some float value, both float values gives the output of a float value again. So this was all about typecasting or type conversion. It basically means you are converting type, like you have converted here integer to float value. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we will be making decisions in Python. Okay, after this section, like making decisions in Python, let's end the session because it could be too much for you. I'll be giving you some assignments or some questions. Practice them afterwards. Okay, a programmer writes a program and the program asks questions. A computer executes the program and provides the answers. The program must be able to react according to the received answers, right? Fortunately, computers know only two kind of answers. Yes, this is true, or no, this is false. You will never get a response like, let me think, I don't know. Probably yes, probably no, but I don't know for sure. No, it won't answer like it. It will say, if it is yes, it will say true. If it is no, then it will say false. To ask questions, Python uses a very special set of operators. Let's go through them with one another. Okay. First one is equality operator and inequality operator. Okay, so my question is, are the two values equal? To ask this question, you use the equal operator. Don't forget, this is important, that equal to, the simple equal to we were using before, is an assignment operator. Example, if I do A equal to B, assign single equal to, then it means that A's value will be, uh, it assigns the A with the value of B, मतलब B की value A पे assign हो जाएगी. But if I use equal operator, then what is meaning that the, so A equal B compares A and B, it will be resulting to the boolean values. It is a binary operator with left sided binary. It needs two arguments and checks if they are equal. Okay, what if I do 2 equal 2 point, what will it give? Python is able to convert the integer value to its real equivalent value. You know, interestingly, it will give you the value true. It will not give the value false. Like if you are comparing one integer value and a float value, like 2 equal 2.0, then it will say yes, this is equal. Okay, but if you do 2 equal 2.3, obviously it's not same, right? So it will give false. Now let's move on to another operators, the comparison operators. Greater than equal to, less than or less than equal to. They are basically simple. Let's move on to the priority table. Yeah. The actually, let's say you use some code like A is equal to B greater than equal to C. Now you are using one equal symbol here. You are using again one operator that is greater than equal to. The content of the variable will tell you the answer to the question asked. The second possibility is more convenient and far more common. You can use the answer to get to make a decision about the future of the program. You need a special instruction for this purpose, and we'll discuss it very soon. Now we will, like, I'll first want you to update to the priority table. Like the priority table is if any of the coding line contains plus, star, slash, double slash, hyphen, minus, greater than equal to or less than or exclamation mark not equal to, it will figure out those according to the priority table. Like firstly, plus and minus will are on the priority number one. Then the exponential operator is on the priority number two. Like in the maths, you must be familiar. You use the BODMAS rule, right? BODMAS. Here you use this priority table for the operation. Okay. Now let's come to the actual Python condition and conditional execution. You already know how to ask Python questions, right? But you still don't know how to make reasonable use of the answers. You have to have a mechanism which will allow you to do something if a condition is met of the or if the condition is not met. It's just like in real life. You do certain things or you don't when a specific condition is met or not. Example, let's say you go for a walk if the weather is good, or stay home if the weather is wet and cold. To make such decisions, Python actually offers a special instruction. Due to its nature and its application, it is called conditional instruction. I hope I'm clear with the statement of conditional instruction. There are several variants to it. We'll start with simplest and increasing and difficulty. Like I'll be increasing the difficulty. Look at this statement. If true or not, do this if true. What does it mean? The conditional statement consists of the following things: the if keyword, one or more white spaces, obviously, an expression, a question or an answer whose value will be interpreted solely in terms of true and false, a colon followed by a new line, an indented instruction. This is important, I need you to focus on this more. An indented instruction or set of instruction. The indentation may be achieved in two ways. It will be achieved in two ways. One, by inserting a particular number of spaces, or by using the lab characters. Note, if there is one or more than one instruction in the indented part, the indentation should be the same in all lines. Even though it may look the same if you use tabs mixed with spaces, it's important to make all indentation exactly the same. Okay. And I would like you to know that the Python 3 doesn't allow the mixing of spaces and tabs for indentation. Okay. Now I would like you to know that how this statement works. It seems to be difficult. If the true or not expression represents the truth, then the indentation statement will be executed. If the true or not expression does not represent the truth, the indentation statement will be omitted. Omitted means it will be ignored, and the next executed instruction will be the one after the original indentation. Okay, let me explain it to you. If true or not, if I say if 2 is less than 3, yes, it's true. Then it will move to the inner part. But if I say 3 is less than 2, no, it's not true. Then it will move to the further code. Not inside, but it will move to the further code. Okay. In real life, let's take an example. The weather is good, we'll go for a walk, then we'll have lunch. As you can see, having lunch is not a conditional activity. It doesn't depend on the weather. I said कि if the weather is good, I'll go for a walk. Then I'll go have lunch. It doesn't mean that agar if the weather is not good, I will not have lunch. If you understand what I meant by this, like if you are able to see, yeah. Knowing what condition influence our behavior and assuming that I have the parameters function, we can write it like A is greater than B. Then inside it, some statement, and if it is not true, it will move on to another statement. Okay. Now, the if statement. If a certain sleepless Python developer falls asleep when he or she counts 120 sheep, the sheep including procedure may be implemented as a special function name. Okay, the whole code takes the following steps. Okay, look at this code. If sheep counter is greater than equal to 120, then sleep and dream मतलब कि अगर sheep counter हमारा ज़्यादा मतलब greater or equal to हुआ 120 के, तो हमारा sleep and dream वाला कोई एक function हमने बनाया हुआ है already, वो execute हो जाएगा. Okay, we have said that conditionally executed statements have to be indented. Okay, this creates a very legible structure, clearly demonstrating all possible execution paths in the code. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. Moving on to the if else statement. I already told you about if statement, like using just if statement. What if I use if and else? What does it mean? I'll be explaining it to you. There is not a word about what will happen if the weather is bad. Okay. कि भाई अगर ठीक है, अगर वेदर अच्छा हुआ तो घूमने चले जाएंगे, अगर वेदर अच्छा नहीं हुआ तो व्हाट. क्या उसके लिए कोई हमारे पास, अगर हमें कुछ स्पेसिफिक करना है कि अगर वेदर अच्छा नहीं हुआ तो हम घर में बैठ के चाय पियेंगे, उस चीज़ को हाउ विल यू एक्सप्रेस इट? वी ओनली नो दैट इट वोंट गो आउटडोर्स, बट व्हाट वी कुड डू इंस्टेड इफ इट इज नॉट नो, वी कैन से फॉर एग्जाम्पल if the weather is good, we will go for a walk. Otherwise, I'll have tea. Now we know that we'll do if the conditions are met, and we know that what we'll do if not everything goes our way. ठीक है, like if you have a plan A or a plan B, Python allows us to express such alternative plans. This is done with the second, slightly more complex form of conditional statement, that is if-else statement. Like you are able to see here, if true or false condition is true, then it will move on to perform if condition true. If it is not, then it will move on to perform if condition is false. Any function, any code you want to run through, it will do it as follows. Okay, I want you to know what actually this follows. If the condition evaluates to be true, the perform if function true statement is executed, and if the condition evaluation is to be false, the perform if condition false statement is executed. Okay. Now I'll make it more complex. I'll make it like as you're able to see on your screens like this. If the weather is good, I'll go for a walk. Else, I'll go to a theater and have a lunch. Okay, let me tell you once again. If this is true, this will follow on. But if this is false, it will go here. Again, if this is after this whole process is done, it will have lunch. Having lunch is necessary here. Okay. Now look at this statement. If the weather is good, it will perform two functions. If not, it will perform another two functions. After this whole thing is done, true or false, it will have lunch again. Like you can pass as many functions as you can, as you want. Okay? Yeah. Now let's move to nested if else statement. I already told that if this is true, it will do some function, some argument, some coding. If not, then else and another some function or that. But what if that the if statement has another if else and else statement also have another if else? First, consider the case where the instruction placed after the if is another if. Read what we have planned for this Sunday. If the weather is fine, we'll go for a walk. If we find a nice restaurant, we'll have lunch there. Otherwise, we'll eat a sandwich. If the weather is poor, we'll go to the theater. If there are no tickets, we'll go shopping in the nearest mall. Right? Okay. What if I write it in the form of code? It looks like this. I think you already got it. I have explained it so many times. This use of the if else statement is known as nesting. Which if is called nesting? Like this if has a nested if in it. Okay. Yeah. Remember that every else refers to the if which lies at the same indentation level. You need to know that this is to determine how the ifs and else's pair up. Like you are able to see here, this if and this else are a pair. Here, this if and this else are a pair. Here, this if and this else are a pair. Okay. One next example resembles nesting, but the similarities are very slight. Again, we will change our plans and express them as follows. Okay. Let's say if the weather is good, then I'll go for a walk. What if the weather is not? What if tickets available hui, then I'll go for a theater. What if nahi hui, then I'll go ki, if the table is available, then I'll go for lunch. If all of them fails, then I'll go play chess at home. This is the most optimum thing. So if you want to include many uh, arguments or many statements that what if plan A goes wrong, what if then plan B goes wrong, what if plan C goes wrong, you will have a plan D. Okay, you must not, also some of the rules are here that you must not use else without a preceding if. Okay, else is always the last branch of the cascade, regardless of whether you have used elif or not. Else is not an optional part of the cascade and may be omitted. If there is an else branch in the cascade, only one of all branches is executed. If there is no else branch, it's possible that none of the available branches is executed. Okay? This may sound a little puzzling, but hopefully some simple examples will need more shedding to it. Let's analyze some codes. Now move to the actual Python. Here we are reading first of all two numbers. Number one, it's asking. Let's move from the inner bracket to the outer bracket. It will ask enter the first number. It will take input from the user and it converts into integer. Number two is also inputted in the same way. Okay. Now I want to choose a larger number among all. If number one is greater than number two, then you will say that the large number is number one, right? Agar aisa nahi hua, then you will say that the larger number is number two, and accordingly you will print the larger number, saying print the larger number is large number. Okay, so this is the, I think you are able to analyze the code as of we learned about input, integer, we learned about if else statement, we learned about assigning some values to a variable and then printing it out along with the string or any other argument. Okay, I want you to analyze this code. This code basically contains key, it take three numbers, number 1, 2, 3, asking the user to input. Then it assumes temporarily that the larger number is number 1. Then it says ki if the number 1 is less than number 2, then obviously the larger number is number 2, right? What if then let's say the number 1 was 3, number 2 was 4. I assigned ki bhai larger number is number 2 for now. Then I check if the number 2 is less than or 4. Yes, obviously it's less than. Now the larger number is 2. It again compare itself from number 3. Let's say the number 3 is 4. Kya, sorry, 3, let's say the number 3 is 3. Is number 3 3 is greater than 4? Obviously not. Then it will ignore that if number 3 is greater than larger number statement, and it will directly print the larger number is largest number, that is number 2. Okay. I would like you to introduce you further to pseudocode and introduction to loops. You should now be able to write a program which finds the largest or 4, 5, 6, or even 10 numbers. You already know the scheme. So, extending the size of the problem will not be particularly complex. But what happens if I ask you to write a program that finds the largest of 200 numbers? Can you write it simply like we are writing it? You'll need a 200 variables. If 200 variables isn't bad enough, try to imagine searching for the largest of a million numbers. Imagine a code that contains 199 conditional statements. Obviously, it will be having 199 conditional statements, right? And 200 invocations of the input function. Luckily, you don't need to deal with that. Python solves it for you. See the pseudocode here. This pseudocode. One second. What's happening in it? Actually, I can simply program if at the very beginning of the code, I assign the variable largest number with the value which will be smaller than any of the entered numbers. Try to apply your maths here. I'll use minus 9999 for that purpose. Okay. Secondly, we assume that our algorithm will not know in advance how many numbers will be delivered to the program. I expect that the user will enter as many numbers as he or she wants. If someone asks me to input numbers, why would I write 666655544? The algorithm will work well with 100 and 1000 numbers. How do we do that actually? I make a deal with the user that when the value -1 is entered, it will be a sign that there are no more data and the program should end if it works. Otherwise, if the entered value is not equal to -1, the program will read another number and so on. Actually, the trick is based on the assumption that any part of the code can be performed more than once, precisely as many times as needed. Performing a certain part of the code more than once is called a loop, and the meaning of this term is probably obvious to you. Okay, so yeah, so I'll be teaching you about loops and all from tomorrow. I just want to give you a brief about loops, boolean values, and all. Okay, what if I ask you, ki while there is something to do it. So note that this record also declares that if there is nothing to do, nothing at all will happen. This is what looping your code with while concept is. I'll be taking it further more tomorrow. I hope whatever I told you is clear up till now. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in the chat box or in the WhatsApp group if you want. I'll be sharing you the questions. I'll be sharing you the questions. I'll be asking you to write codes. Like here, we basically used normal. Like how would you take out the largest number out of the three numbers? How would you take out largest number out of two numbers? I told you the two different ways. One by using normal thing कि भाई पहले नंबर कंपेयर किया दूसरे से दूसरा नंबर कंपेयर किया थर्ड से. Another method was कि पूरा हमने इफ और एल्स वाला स्टेटमेंट चलाया एंड उसके अकॉर्डिंगली हमने कंपेयर किया. लाइक दिस आई विल बी गिविंग यू सम क्वेश्चंस. आई होप यू अंडरस्टूड टुडेज टॉपिक. So if you tomorrow I'll be like, let me tell you, we had these agendas, right? I completed the introduction part, the Python data types and variables. I hope you are comfortable with them. I introduced you some conditional execution. Tomorrow I'll be continuing with the Boolean values, loops, list, and further. Also tomorrow we will be starting with NumPy. We have to fastly complete this basics of Python. Then we'll be using more to the practical part of the Python, which is more exciting. Hoping to see you all tomorrow too. I hope it's clear. And if my voice or my way of speaking isn't comfortable to you all, you can obviously respond to me. Okay. Thank you all for joining. I'll be sharing the notes and each and everything. So feel free to ask in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you very much, Deepto. Would you like to take ahead? Okay, I guess Aditya is yeah, Shanmugh, you can. Just a second. Are you able to unmute yourself, Shanmugh? Okay, I guess he raised my mistake. Okay, see you all tomorrow again at the same time at 6 p.m. If you do have classes, we obviously are recording. We'll share the recording with you all. Okay, see you all there at 6. Thank you very much for joining. Okay, yeah. You all can leave the meeting.
Guys, hello. They left.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nothing, nothing, nothing.